8-year-old Maya lives on the edge of poverty in a forgotten corner of Nevada, raised by her grandmother in a trailer park where broken dreams collect dust. Her father abandoned them years ago. Her mother struggles with addiction in a treatment facility 3 states away. The only constant in her life is silence and the weight of being unwanted. One morning, a motorcycle club rolls through, not looking for trouble but running from it. Their president, Diesel, a man scarred by a promise he made to a fallen brother 15 years ago, notices Maya sitting alone by the road, watching the world pass her by. Something in her hollow eyes mirrors his own ghosts. Against his crew's advice, Diesel stops. He doesn't offer pity. He offers a challenge. Learn to fix this bike and it's yours, not as charity, as proof that she's capable of building something, of creating value, of mattering. What begins as a simple mechanical lesson becomes a bridge between 2 broken souls. As Maya discovers she has hands that can create, a mind that can solve problems, and a worth that no one ever told her she possessed, Diesel confronts an old debt, a promise made to protect a child he never got to save. This time, he won't fail. But when Maya's father returns with darker intentions and a local authority figure threatens to separate them, Diesel and his crew must decide, will they ride for the girl who learned to build, or will they let the system tear apart the first real family she's ever known? A story about redemption through small acts of faith, about legacy built not through blood, but through showing up, about a little girl who learned she was worth fighting for, and the broken man who finally kept his promise. The Nevada sun burned without mercy, bleaching the world into shades of ash and bone. Maya sat on the curb outside Redemption Trailer Park, her bare feet dangling above the cracked asphalt, her sundress, faded pink with a coffee stain on the hem, hanging loose on her frame. She was 8 years old and had learned early that silence was safer than sound. Her grandmother was inside, sleeping off another night shift at the diner. The TV played softly through the screen door, a cooking show nobody was watching. Maya had found $3 in quarters from the washer yesterday. She'd spent 2 on a peanut butter sandwich from the vending machine at the convenience store, and kept one for later, just in case. Just in case what, she didn't know. She'd stopped making plans. The road was empty except for the wind pushing plastic bags across the dust. A McDonald's wrapper tumbled past her feet like a small, defeated animal. She watched it go without interest. Then came the sound, low and rhythmic, like the earth itself was breathing. Motorcycles. Not 1 or 2, but many. The sound grew louder, multiplying into a roar that vibrated through her chest and made her sit up straighter. A convoy rolled into view, 50 bikes, maybe more. Chrome glinted in the brutal sunlight. The leather jackets bore patches, a wolf's head, a cut inscribed with words she couldn't read. The riders were thick-bodied men with beards and scars, faces weathered like old stone. Some wore bandanas soaked through with sweat. Their eyes were forward, focused, the way soldiers looked when they moved with purpose. Maya pressed herself against the chain-link fence. She'd learned not to be seen, but one rider slowed, then stopped. He was massive, the kind of man who seemed to displace air around him. His beard was dark, streaked with grey, and a scar ran from his left temple down to his jaw, bisecting his face like a story told in violence. His kuta was worn, patches faded, and beneath it she could see the muscles of someone who'd built himself through work and will. His eyes were dark brown, almost black, and when they landed on her they didn't slide away. They stopped. The other riders kept going, their engines fading into the distance. But this man cut his engine. The silence that followed felt enormous. He swung his leg over the bike and stood, at least 6'3", heavy with muscle and leather, and the kind of presence that made the small world around him seem to shrink. He walked toward her, his boots crunching on gravel. Up close, she could smell gasoline and motor oil and something else, tobacco, and the road itself. If you can change this clutch, you can keep the bike. Subscribe for the story of the biker who gave a forgotten girl something no one else could. Belief. You live here? His voice was gravel mixed with whiskey. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Her hands had gone cold despite the heat. He studied her for a long moment, not with judgment, just assessment. The way someone looks at something that matters and needs understanding. What's your name? Maya. I'm Diesel. He gestured back toward his motorcycle, standing alone on the road like a monument to freedom. Come over here a second. Every instinct screamed at her not to move. Stranger danger. That's what Mrs. Patterson at school had taught them. Run, scream, tell an adult. But there were no adults. Just her grandmother's thin snoring leaking through the screen door. She stood. Her legs felt uncertain, like they'd forgotten how to carry her. Diesel walked back to his bike. She followed, staying a few feet away. He stopped at the machine and ran his hand along the seat, the chrome, the engine block, the way someone touches something they love. You know anything about motorcycles? He asked. No. The clutch is what connects the engine to the transmission. If it's worn out, the bike won't shift right, won't have power. He pointed to a part beneath the seat, something small and mechanical and impossible to understand. Changing it takes patience, precision. Can't rush it, can't guess. He looked at her directly. His dark eyes held something, not kindness exactly, but recognition, like he was seeing her and not seeing through her. If you can change this clutch, he said, you can keep the bike. She blinked. What? Come to my shop tomorrow morning. 7 o'clock. There's a mechanic's garage 2 miles east of here, off Highway 95. Look for the sign that says, Iron Promise. He paused. Can you get there? Maya nodded, though she wasn't sure. 2 miles. She'd walked that far before. Bring work clothes you don't mind getting dirty. He pulled a card from his Cooter pocket, cream-colored, worn at the edges. He pressed it into her small hand. It was warm from being close to his body. That's the address and the phone number in case you get lost. She looked down at the card. The letters seemed to shimmer in the heat. Why? She whispered. Diesel was quiet for a long moment. He looked back toward the trailer park, then at the empty road, then at her face. Because somebody once promised to teach me something important, he said quietly, and they didn't get to keep that promise, so I keep it for them. He swung back onto his bike. The engine roared to life, a sound like awakening. He pulled his Cooter straight and looked at her one more time. Tomorrow, he said. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. Then he was gone, the sound of his engine carrying him east toward the horizon, leaving Maya standing alone with a business card warming in her hand and the first flutter of something she couldn't name moving in her chest. It felt almost like hope. The garage sat like a relic from another era, metal walls rust-stained and beautiful, a faded sign above the entrance showing a motorcycle wreathed in chains and fire. Iron Promise MC was painted across the entrance in letters that had survived decades of desert sun. Behind it, the mountains rose in waves of purple and brown, their peaks sharp against the dawn sky. Maya had walked the 2 miles in the dark, leaving a note for her grandmother in careful letters. Went somewhere. Back soon. Love, Maya. She'd borrowed her sneakers and wore an old T-shirt of her grandmother's that hung to her knees, and a pair of pants with a tear in the knee that didn't matter anymore. It was 6:47 a.m. when she arrived. The garage doors were already open. She could hear music playing inside, something with drums and an electric guitar, and the sound of tools clanging. Her stomach was a tight knot. She stood at the threshold, small and uncertain, watching the interior take shape as her eyes adjusted to the dimmer light. The garage was enormous and immaculate. Motorcycles in various states of repair were arranged like sculptures throughout the space. Workbenches lined the walls, organized with military precision. Wrenches hung in size order, oil cans stacked, manuals filed. Everything was clean. Everything had a place. But it was the bikes that commanded the space. A 1970s Harley-Davidson in deep black with chrome that caught the light like water. A custom cruiser with an extended frame. A street bike painted the color of old blood. Diesel stood at the far end, his back to her, working on something beneath a bike suspended on a lift. His back was a landscape of muscle and work, his tank top revealing shoulders like boulders, arms that had clearly spent thousands of hours building and creating. He wore work gloves, but she could see tattoos covering his forearms, dates, names, symbols she didn't understand. "You're 3 minutes early," he said, without turning around. "I walked fast," Maya said quietly. "Good." He set down his wrench and turned. In the morning light coming through the high windows, his scar was more prominent. A white line that seemed to tell a story of violence survived. He nodded at a workbench. "Over there, there's a clutch assembly I pulled from a '98 Sportster. You're going to learn how it works." For the next 2 hours, Diesel taught her the language of machines. He showed her how to hold the wrench without straining her small wrists. He demonstrated the pressure needed, not too hard, not too soft. He explained the sequence, which bolts came out first, which came last, why order mattered. He showed her the worn clutch plates, paper-thin from friction, their surfaces mapped with tiny mountains and valleys. "See this?" He pointed to the damage. "This is what happens when something is used past its capacity. It breaks down, stops working, becomes a liability instead of an asset." Maya listened, watched. Her hands began to understand what her mind was learning. By 9 o'clock, with Diesel's patient guidance and her own trembling concentration, she had successfully removed the old clutch and installed the new one. Her hands ached. She had a small cut on her index finger where she'd caught it on a bolt, but the clutch was secure, functional, complete. "Now start the bike," Diesel said. "I can't. I don't know how. I'll teach you." He guided her to the bike, a smaller model, manageable for her height. He placed her hands on the throttle, showed her how to feel for the clutch engagement point. "Gentle," he said. "The machine will tell you what it needs. You just have to listen." She turned the key. The engine rumbled to life, a low growl that she felt in her bones. Then slowly, carefully, she felt the clutch grab. And the bike moved forward across the garage floor, maybe 20 feet, before she cut the engine, and the machine rolled to a stop. Her heart was pounding. She'd never felt anything like it. "You did that," Diesel said. Not a question, a statement of fact. "You took something broken and made it work. You changed it with your hands and your mind working together." Maya looked back at him, her eyes wide. "That bike," he said, "is yours now. I meant what I said." "Really?" Her voice came out small. "Really?" He paused. "But here's the thing about owning something. It's not just about keeping it. It's about maintaining it, understanding it, respecting what it took to build it." He walked over and placed a hand on the bike's seat. "Comes with responsibility. You understand." She nodded. "Good." He pulled off his work gloves. "Same time tomorrow?" "Yes," Maya said. "Yes, I'll come back. Then we'll teach you more. How to replace brake pads. How to change the oil. How to listen to what the engine is telling you." His dark eyes held hers. "You're going to learn to build things, Maya. Real things. Things that matter. Things that'll last." As she rode her bike home that morning, slowly, carefully, her small frame bent forward with concentration, something had shifted inside her. The world felt slightly less empty. The road beneath her tires felt purposeful. For the first time in her 8 years, she had something that was hers, and someone who believed she deserved it. The Iron Promise garage became her world. Every morning for 3 weeks, Maya walked the 2 miles before dawn. Diesel was always already there, the garage doors open, the radio playing, his hands already deep in the work of building and repair. Some days other crew members would arrive, men with names like Tank and Rays and Ghost, each with their own stories written in scars and ink. But they left her alone with Diesel. That was understood. He taught her methodically, not just mechanics but discipline, how to organize her workspace, how to label parts, how to respect the tools, how to work slowly when speed didn't matter, and move decisively when it did. He taught her to read manuals, to understand the language of engineering, to think in 3 dimensions about how parts fit together. More importantly, he taught her that she was capable. By week 4, Maya could change a tire. By week 6, she'd rebuilt an entire carburetor under Diesel's guidance. Her hands became calloused. Her mind learned to see problems as puzzles instead of obstacles. One morning in late July, a Saturday, Diesel brought her into the back office. On the wall were photographs, dozens of them, pinned to a corkboard in no particular order. A younger Diesel in military fatigues, standing with men in a desert somewhere. Diesel in front of the garage, maybe 15 years ago, with his arm around another biker, a man with kind eyes and a full beard. Diesel and that same man, laughing, holding beer bottles. "That's Marcus," Diesel said, pointing to the kind-eyed man. "My brother, not blood brother, club brother. We patched in together, rode together for 23 years. Maya looked at Diesel's face. His expression had changed. Something heavy had moved across it. "He died," Diesel said simply. 8 years ago. Accident on Route 15, drunk driver, wrong lane." She didn't know what to say. "Before he died," Diesel continued, "he asked me to do something. He had a daughter. She was about your age then. He wanted to make sure somebody taught her, really taught her, not just told her, that she was valuable, that she could build things, that she could survive on her own and be proud of it." He turned to look at Maya. His scar seemed to pulse in the fluorescent light. "I promised him I would, but I didn't. I was too angry, too lost in my own grief. By the time I got my head straight, she was already being raised by her mother in California. I lost the connection, missed the window." He paused. "I promised a man on his deathbed that I would do something, and I didn't do it. That's a weight that doesn't get lighter, no matter how many years pass." He gestured toward her. "Then you showed up on the side of the road. Small, invisible, completely convinced you didn't matter. And I saw my chance to keep that promise, not with Marcus's daughter, but with you, with someone who needs to know she's worth something." YouTube marker. By the end of this story, you'll understand why Diesel couldn't let her go. Subscribe now to watch how one old promise changes everything. Vegas, 11:34 p.m. "You're teaching me because of a dead man?" Maya asked. "I'm teaching you because it's the right thing to do," Diesel said. "And because every time you learn something new, every time you walk into this garage and create something instead of accepting that you're worthless, you're keeping that promise alive. You're making sure his faith in people, in generosity, in second chances, wasn't wasted." A few days later, the rest of the crew showed up. Tank arrived first, massive, even bigger than Diesel, with kind eyes and hands scarred from a lifetime of work. Then Rays, lean and fast, with a motorcycle engine tattooed across his entire back. Ghost, who barely spoke but smiled when he saw Maya and brought her a box of tools from his garage. Good quality, professional grade. Viper, who taught her how to change brake fluid. Smoke, who showed her how to rebuild a transmission. They all treated her with a curious mixture of respect and protection. None of them asked questions. They simply saw what Diesel was doing and understood it as right. One evening, Rays was working on his bike, a custom street machine painted matte black, and Maya was helping him adjust the valve clearance. She was concentrating hard, her small hands steady on the metric wrench. "How old were you when you first rode?" she asked. 6, Rays said. "My old man put me on the back of his bike, and I felt free. Like the world was huge, but I was big enough for it." He looked at her. That's what Diesel's giving you, not just skills, freedom. Freedom from what? Maya asked. From thinking you're not enough, he said simply. That night, riding her bike back to the trailer park in the last light of day, and yes, she rode it now, Diesel had taught her well enough, Maya understood something fundamental. The bike beneath her wasn't just transportation. It was proof. Proof that she could take something broken and make it whole. Proof that someone believed in her. Proof that she mattered. She was 8 years old, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. She was curious about it. The call came at 2:15 in the afternoon on a Tuesday in August. Maya was at the garage, helping Diesel rebuild a shovel head, when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and something in his face shifted. He stepped outside to take it, but not before she heard him say, "Yeah, I'm listening." 15 minutes later, he came back in. The light in his eyes had changed. "Your father's back in town," he said carefully. Maya's hands stilled. She'd learned the name Robert, but never the man. Her father was a story told in her grandmother's silence, a choice made years ago to abandon them, a gap that had been filled with her own assumptions of unworthiness. He contacted your grandmother. She called the motorcycle club hotline. "There's a message board where people can reach us. She wanted to warn me to keep you away from him." "What does he want?" Maya's voice had gone small again. "To take you. He's decided he wants custody. Apparently he got clean last year, found religion, says he wants to make things right." Diesel's jaw was working. "Your grandmother's lawyer says he has some legal ground. He's your biological father, if he's employed and has a place to stay." "I don't want to go," Maya said. The fear was back, that old familiar terror of powerlessness. "I know." Diesel set down the wrench. "Your grandmother knows too, but family law is complicated. Your father could take this to court, could try to force it." "Then what do we do?" Diesel was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was steady but heavy. "We make sure you're safe. We document your relationship with me, with the garage. We make sure any judge understands that you're thriving here, that uprooting you would cause harm." "How long?" Maya asked. "I don't know yet." That evening, when Maya got back to the trailer, her grandmother was sitting on the front step, her face grey with worry. She pulled Maya into her arms and held her tight. "I'm sorry, baby," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "It's okay," Maya said, though it wasn't. "Can I stay with Diesel at the garage until this is decided?" Her grandmother pulled back and looked at her. "He offered. He didn't say no when I asked what we should do." Her grandmother closed her eyes. "That man, he's a saint, a broken, tattooed saint." The next morning, Maya packed a small bag. Her grandmother helped her choose clothes, her schoolwork, a photograph of the two of them from last Christmas. Then they drove to the Iron Promise garage. Diesel was waiting outside. He took the bag from Maya's grandmother and nodded at her. No words needed. They understood each other. Two people bound by love for the same small girl, willing to fight for her. "She'll be safe," he said. "I know," her grandmother replied. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "Bring her back to me." Robert showed up at the garage 3 days later. He was thin in a way that suggested years of hard living, his face weathered, his eyes the color of weak tea. He wore a polo shirt and khaki pants, the uniform of someone trying very hard to seem respectable. A gold cross hung at his neck. "I'm here to see my daughter," he said to Diesel, who blocked the garage entrance. "She's not here," Diesel said, which was technically true. Maya was in the back office, hidden behind a locked door, watching through the security camera feed he'd installed specifically for this moment. "I have rights," Robert said. His voice shook slightly with the fervor of the newly righteous. "I've been trying to contact her. She's my child. I want to be part of her life. Where were you when she was hungry?" Diesel's voice was quiet, but it had an edge that made Robert step back. Where were you when she was learning that she didn't matter? When she was sitting on the side of the road like a piece of garbage because nobody showed up for her? I was sick, Robert said. I was an addict, but I'm different now. God didn't change you, Diesel interrupted. I don't know what did, but you don't get to come back here, flip a spiritual switch, and expect to collect the pieces of the life you threw away like they've been waiting in a safe for you. You can't keep me from my daughter. Robert's voice had hardened now, the desperate righteousness turning to anger. You're not family. You have no legal standing. No, Diesel agreed, but I have something better. I have a child who doesn't want to see you. I have documentation of her education, her development, her progress over the past 8 weeks. I have her grandmother as a witness, and I have the testimony of everyone in this club that would swear in court that you showing up is the worst thing that could happen to her. This is kidnapping, Robert said. I'll call the police. Go ahead, Diesel said calmly. Explain to them why you abandoned an 8-year-old for 7 years, and now you want her because your new girlfriend in Reno wants you to be a better man. Explain that to a judge. Robert's face flushed. You don't know anything about... I know that you're not staying, Diesel said. And I know that when you leave, you need to understand something. That girl in there, she's under my protection now, under the club's protection. You can try the legal system. Go ahead, spend money on lawyers. But you should know that the motorcycle community has resources you can't imagine. We have lawyers too. We have people who remember every detail of your history. And we have a child who would testify that you never showed up when it mattered. Robert stared at him. The anger drained slowly, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. I just want to know her, he said quietly. Then prove it, Diesel said. Not by taking her, by letting her choose. Come back in 6 months. If she wants to see you, if she's decided that you're worth that risk, then we'll talk. But it'll be her choice, not yours. Robert left an hour later. He drove away in a rental car, and nobody saw him pull out because Maya was in Diesel's arms, and his arms were solid and real and safe, and that was all that mattered. That night, the entire club came to the garage. 37 bikers, their colors bright in the fluorescent lights. Tank, Rays, Ghost, Viper, Smoke, and dozens of others, all chapter members, all wearing the patch that said they were family. They came with their knowledge of laws and social systems. They came with their solidarity and their implicit promise. This child was now theirs to protect. Diesel brought Maya out to meet them. She was terrified at first, 37 large men with scars and tattoos, but then Tank smiled at her. And Rays knelt down to her eye level, and Ghost offered her a cookie he'd brought from the bakery. We heard about your situation, Diesel said to her, his hand on her small shoulder. I want you to know something. You're part of the Iron Promise now. That means you're family. That means every single person in this room would ride to hell and back to protect you. That means you're never alone, never powerless, never invisible again. 47 days after Robert left, the court hearing happened. The judge was a woman named Harriet Chen, in her 60s, with reading glasses on a chain and a reputation for caring more about child welfare than legal precedent. The courtroom was small, austere, a place where lives were decided in legal language and precedent. Diesel sat in the front row, his colors covered but his presence unmissable. Tank sat beside him, enormous and solid. Ghost, Viper, Smoke, scattered throughout, witnesses to the truth. Maya's grandmother testified that the child had thrived with Diesel, that her grades had improved, that her confidence had transformed, that Robert had never paid child support, never visited, never attempted to establish a relationship until now. Diesel testified about the garage, the education, the structure, about what he was offering and why he believed it was best for the child. Then Robert testified. He spoke about his journey, his faith, his desire to be a father. He wept. The judge watched him without expression. When it was over, Judge Chen took 2 weeks to issue her ruling. "While I recognize Mr. Roberts' efforts toward rehabilitation," she wrote, "I am primarily concerned with the welfare of the minor child. The evidence suggests that the child has formed a meaningful and stable attachment with Mr. Diesel and the Iron Promise organization. The child's educational progress, psychological well-being, and expressed preferences all indicate that disrupting this arrangement would cause significant harm. Therefore, I am awarding primary custody to Maya's grandmother, with Diesel granted legal guardianship and full authority over educational and health decisions. Robert Martinez is granted supervised visitation only, contingent on the child's agreement." The paper went up on the garage wall, laminated, a legal document that formalized what had always been true. Maya belonged here. YouTube call. If you've made it this far, hit that like button. This story's only halfway through, and the hardest part is coming. Subscribe now so you don't miss Chapter 7. That night, the club threw a party. 47 motorcycles lined the parking lot. The garage was transformed into a celebration space. Strings of lights, coolers full of beer, grills set up outside cooking steaks. Maya was in the center of it all. And for the first time, she wasn't scared of the noise or the size of these men. She understood now that noise meant life, meant celebration, meant that things had changed. Diesel found her watching the sunset from the roof of the garage. She'd learned how to climb up there safely, and he sometimes joined her at the end of the day. "You did it," she said. "You kept the promise." "We kept it," he corrected. "You did the hard part. You showed up every day. You learned. You believed in yourself even when believing was the scariest thing you could do." They sat in silence as the sun turned the sky to fire. "I have a question," Maya said. "If I can change a clutch and keep the bike, what happens if I change something else? Something about me?" Diesel smiled. It was the kind of smile that healed scars. "You already have. You've changed from a girl who thought she was invisible to a girl who knows she can build things, to a girl who knows she's worth protecting, to a girl who knows she's family." "Will you teach me more?" she asked. "Every day," he said, "as long as you want to learn." The next 2 years passed like chapters in a book Diesel was writing with his hands and his wisdom. Maya, now 10, came to the garage every day after school. She wasn't just learning mechanics anymore. She was learning electrical systems, learning how to paint custom designs, learning the mathematics of torque and friction and power. But more than that, she was learning about herself. She learned that failure wasn't shame, it was information. She learned that asking for help wasn't weakness, it was intelligence. She learned that the people around her, Tank, Rays, Ghost, the entire club, they chose to be there, which meant the care they showed her was real, voluntary, genuine. Her grandmother still picked her up some nights, and they'd have dinner together. But most evenings, Maya ate with the crew at the garage. They taught her things too, not just about bikes, but about loyalty, about honor, about what it meant to choose family instead of being born into it. On her 10th birthday, the club threw her a party that lasted all day. There was a cake in the shape of a motorcycle. There were gifts, a professional tool set from Tank, a detailed technical manual from Ghost, new work boots from Viper, and from Diesel there was a box wrapped in silver paper. Inside was a leather cooter, custom-made, small enough for her frame. On the back, in gold embroidery, were the Iron Promise insignia and the words, "Future Member." She put it on and felt armor settle around her shoulders. She looked at Diesel, and he was smiling that rare smile. "That's not for wearing to school," he said. "That's for understanding what it means. You're part of this crew now, officially. You're under the patch. You're family. But toward the end of that summer, something shifted. Diesel came into the garage one morning and looked older than Maya had ever seen him. He sat down heavily on his workbench, and his hands, those hands that had taught her everything, were shaking. "Doctor found something," he said. He wasn't talking to her exactly. More like he was saying it out loud to make it real. "My heart. I've been pushing too hard for too long, running on fumes and fury for too many years. The damage is catching up." Maya's world contracted. "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means I need to slow down," he said. "Take it easier. Let younger men handle the heavy work." He looked at her. "It means I might not be here as long as we both thought I would be." "Don't say that." Her voice was small. "It's not something I say and it goes away," he said gently. "It just is. But here's what matters. Everything I've taught you, everything you've learned, that's real, that stays. That's what legacy is. It's not about being here forever. It's about teaching someone to stand on their own, to believe in their own power, to know that they matter." "But I need you," Maya said. "I know," he said, "and I'm not going anywhere yet. We've got years, maybe many years, but we need to make sure that when I do, you're ready. And not just mechanically ready, spiritually ready. You need to know that what I've taught you about yourself is true, that it's yours forever, no matter what happens to me." 5 years later, Maya sat on her own motorcycle, a 1983 Sportster, painted deep blue with chrome that caught the sunrise, and waited for the signal to ride. She was 15 years old. Her hands were strong and scarred and capable. Her mind understood the language of engines and physics and problem-solving. Her heart knew what it meant to be chosen, to be valued, to be part of something larger than herself. Diesel was beside her on his old road bike, the same one she'd first learned on. He was thinner now, his color slightly grayed by the medication that kept his heart working, but his eyes were still fire and purpose. His scooter still bore the marks of decades of riding, but now it also had a patch that read Mentor stitched beneath his name. Around them, 47 motorcycles idled in perfect formation. Tank, Rays, Ghost, Viper, Smoke, and dozens of younger riders who had learned from those men, who had learned loyalty and honor and the sacred responsibility of protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Behind them, in a small car driven by her grandmother, was Maya's mother. She'd been clean for 3 years now, and while she and Maya were still learning how to be in relationship, the girl had agreed. Today, she wanted her mother to see. "Ready?" Diesel asked through the radio built into their helmets. "Ready," Maya said. The ride began. 47 motorcycles moving in perfect synchronization, rolling out of the Iron Promise garage and into the Nevada morning. They were heading to a shelter for foster children on the edge of Las Vegas. They were heading there to teach 20 young people, kids who looked like Maya had looked once, invisible and worthless, that they were worth building something for. As they rode, Diesel's voice came through the radio. "You remember what I taught you about promises? Promises live longer than the people who make them," Maya said. "Right," Diesel said. "That man Marcus, my brother, he made me a promise before he died, to teach a girl that she mattered. I didn't keep it with his daughter, but I kept it with you. And now, today, we're teaching 20 more kids the same thing. You're carrying that promise forward. You're making it bigger. You're making it matter." They rode through the desert as the sun climbed higher, and the engines sang their song of power and freedom and defiance against a world that wanted to tell you that you were nothing. The chrome caught fire. The road stretched ahead, infinite with possibility. At the shelter, they set up in the courtyard. Tank and Rays and Ghost showed the kids around the bikes. Let them touch the chrome. Feel the weight of them. Viper and Smoke explained the mechanics, and Maya, small, fierce, scarred from her own journey, taught them how to change a clutch. A boy no older than 9 watched her hands move through the sequence, watched the precision, watched the confidence, and when she handed him the wrench and said, "Your turn," she saw it. The exact moment he understood that he was capable of something real. Diesel stood beside her as the sun climbed higher. "He's going to remember this," he said. "This moment, this girl, this proof that he can build something, that he can take something broken and fix it, that matters. Will they be okay?" Maya asked. "Those kids? Some of them will, some will struggle. But every single one of them now knows that they're not invisible. That's the difference. That knowledge, that belief in your own worth, that's what changes futures." As the sun reached its peak and the 47 motorcycles lined up to ride home, Diesel pulled Maya aside. "I need you to promise me something," he said. "Anything," she said, "when I'm gone, and I will be gone eventually. Probably sooner than either of us would like. I need you to keep riding. I need you to keep this going, to teach other kids what I taught you, to show them that they matter, that promises matter, that loyalty matters, that family is something you choose and fight for every single day." "I promise," Maya said. Diesel put his hand on her head, and it felt like a benediction. "Then the promise lives on," he said, "and I'll die knowing I kept it." They rode home in silence, 47 motorcycles moving as one through the desert, beneath a sky so big it could hold all the promises that had ever been made. Diesel's heart beat steadily beneath his scooter, still strong enough for now, still faithful. And Maya rode beside him, her blue Sportster gleaming in the sun, carrying forward the legacy that had saved her. The engine roared. The chrome caught fire, and in the distance, in another shelter, in another city, other kids watched the dust settle and understood for the first time that they might be worth something after all. Thank you for riding with us. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances, in family, in the power of keeping promises, please subscribe. Share this. Let's build more proof that people matter, that promises live forever, that redemption is always possible. See you next time. End of story.